Hi, this is Mrs. Clark, and this is my video on classifying versus naming. So we're going to go over these examples and talk about the difference with each one between the directions that say classify and the directions that say name. So you can cut it in half right up the middle. It's going to go on 2 separate pages in your notebook. We're going to start with this one. Okay, so first, let's talk about classifying. Classifying means to identify the shape or the figure or the object. What is it? What type is it? So what vocabulary term would go with it? Then you have naming, which is where you give its initials and you use that symbol notation like we did at the bottom of our notes when we did our points, lines, planes, angles, all those things. So we're going to talk about that for each example. So first, if I look at this figure, this has 2 arrows, one on either end, so this is a line, so I classify it as a line. If I look at this one, it's got endpoints on both sides, so I classify this as a segment or a line segment. If I look at this one, it has 1 arrow on one side, so I classify that as a ray. And then the last one, it's 2 rays joined together at this vertex here, so this is an angle. Now to name these is different. I want to give its initials, its symbol notation, so the little how you name it, which we wrote down on our notes. For a line, I can name it 2 ways. I can use this little lowercase letter here, P, that doesn't have a point next to it, so I can call it line P. Or I can use 2 points that are on it, so JK or KJ, it doesn't matter which way, with a little line symbol over it that has 2 arrows. And you don't have to put both, but I'm going to put both options here just so that we know and remember there are 2 ways of naming it with the points, forwards or backwards. When I look at a segment, it's named like this one, forwards or backwards, but the symbol on top is different. So since this has no arrows, then I'm going to put no arrows. So this one I would call ST with a bar over it, or TS with a bar over it. So when it asks you to name, you only have to give 1 name unless it says name all ways or name 2 ways or 3 ways. But you would just make sure you have the right symbol on top of it. And if I'm doing a segment, I have to use the endpoints. And I can use them in either order. But when I look at a ray, I only have 1 endpoint and the other one is just a point on the ray with an arrow on that side. So I have to make sure with a ray that I'm starting my name with the endpoint. So I want to start with L. And then it goes through M, so I would use that letter next. And my arrow always goes to the right. There's no other way to name this ray. Start at the endpoint and go through the other point. So it starts at L and goes to M, arrow going to the right. When I look at the angle, there are many ways to name this angle. I can name it either with its vertex, which right here is E, so just angle symbol with an E. I can name it using the 3 letters, one from this side, then this vertex, then this side, so DEC. Or I can flop the letters the opposite order and do CED. Or I can use the number that's in it, which is a 3, so angle 3. So this has many ways. Any one of those would be acceptable if it just asked you to name it. When I look at the other page, you should notice that the lines and segments and rays and figures have many points on them, and that's what makes them different over here than over here. The idea for naming it is the same, but I want you to know how to do it when there's lots of points on it, because there could be many points labeled on any of these figures. So when I'm looking at the first one, this is definitely a line. It has arrows on both sides, so I'm going to classify it as a line. But it has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different points. All I need to do is pick 2. I can pick A and B, A and C, A and D, A and E. I don't even have to pick A if I don't want to. I can do B and C, B and D, B and E. I can also go the other way, E and D, E and C. So I can pick any direction and any 2 points. They don't even have to be next to each other. So I could pick A and C if I wanted, or E and B if I wanted. And I can put either one first. So I'm going to pick BE for this, and I'm going to put the line symbol over it. If you want to pick your 2 favorite letters, that's fine. If you want to use the one on the left and the one on the right, you can do that as well. I'm going to add maybe one more example here so we know that there's more than one. I'm going to write many others. When I look at this segment next, so I'm classifying this as a segment, it has no arrows. I have to be super careful. It has 4 points on it, but when naming a segment, I have to use the endpoint. So I have to use this one and this one. I'm not going to use X and Y to name it because I want to say where does it start, where does it stop. I can do either order, so either one can go first, WZ or ZW, but no other options are acceptable for this one. So I wouldn't use X or Y in the name at all. On the last one here, this is array, so I'm classifying it as array. It has an endpoint over here at M, so I have to use that first. So I can say M, and then it goes through O, so I can say MO, put my arrow to the right. I also can say MN because it goes through that point also. But I can't switch it and put the N, put anything but the M first. M has to go first since that's the endpoint. So those are the only 2 options for that. So A has many, or the beginning, top one, sorry, has many options, like at least 10, but the other ones, there are only these 2 options. So go ahead and glue these into your notebook on our next 2 pages, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.